Starlight's introduction into My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic presented an alternative perspective on the harmony that is usually portrayed throughout the show. Whilst the show's emphasis on friendship often reveals how unique characteristics can support each other when connected through friendship, Starlight perceives them as a source of conflict and inequality, with these contrasting ideologies becoming the central premise of the two-part episode Cutie Map. In this episode, Starlight's commune acts as an allegorical critique of Marxist ideology, representing the paradoxical nature of absolute equality within society. Before we begin looking into Starlight and the events within this episode, I want to briefly go over the basic concepts of Marxist theories. Karl Marx's famous Communist Manifesto begins with, "The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggle," by which he states all of society's foundation revolves around the oppression of the common person by the bourgeoisie. His vision of a perfect society does away with this class division through collective ownership and the abolition of class hierarchy. His vision is appealing due to the appearance of fairness and the removal of exploitation by making everyone equal, but its implementation has often led to authoritarian enforcement, censorship, and loss of individuality. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the events of the show. The episode starts with the main six getting sent to an unknown location by their new cutie map. When they arrive, it already appears unsettling, with houses all being identical and pale, contrasting to the usual bright colors and unique designs of other places, such as the Canterlot Castle or Twilight's Library. Getting closer, it appears something isn't quite right. Though the ponies appear happy, their behavior seems unnatural, with Pinky even stating,
"I know smiles, and those smiles, they're just not right."
And being the element of laughter, her assertion reveals the forced cheerfulness of the villagers, which is indicative of enforced ideological beliefs of happiness. The identical cutie marks show something unnatural is at play within the village, as they are supposed to represent a pony's unique talent and purpose, thus inherently unique for all ponies. When the main six enter the village, they are greeted by this eerily repetitive greeting.
Welcome!
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 Welcome! Welcome!
Despite this, the townspeople do go on to state how there's never been a problem in their village, and then take the main six to Starlight Glimmer, who shares her idea of harmony without special talents. The town then goes on to sing a song about how they're all the same. However, the dance that they do seems oddly similar to a military march, with the song maybe even akin to something like propaganda to indoctrinate the main six into their ideology. And in this scene, we see Starlight tie up her pony's hair into one of the only few hairstyles we see within the village. Together, these events all hint at a forced equality within the town. Skipping forward a bit, the main six are invited into the basement of the bakery, where they meet a group of ponies who are very interested in their cutie marks, and it's revealed that Starlight has taken away everyone's cutie marks and stored them in a vault within a cave. This interaction hints at Starlight's control over the other ponies, going as far as to say,
"I'm not sure Starlight would like that. She wants us all to be happy in our sameness."
as a means of forming their own decisions and moral compass. Anyways, the main six go into the vault accompanied by Starlight, who then confirms these suspicions of control by saying,
"Well, it seems you inspire all sorts of free thinking, don't you?"
which pretty blatantly demonstrates the loss of freedom of speech. She then goes on to take the cutie marks of the main six. This is as far as I'm going to recap the story, as the rest is not really important to the point I'm trying to make, but I do highly recommend watching the rest, as well as the entire series for that matter, as it is very good. Anyways, what is revealed through this story is how the village is presented as a utopia, having perfect harmony, but it is slowly deconstructed through the uncanny nature of the ponies within, displaying unnatural behavior and strangely similar designs. Starlight's control over the village slowly moves into the forefront of the episode, in which her ideas of harmony and equality are pushed into the villagers and then the main six, which presents a rather paradoxical system, whereby all are the same and equal, except the one who dictates what is right, in this case, Starlight. Starlight, as the leader of this village, presents a paradox to her own ideals, making all others equal while secretly maintaining her own cutie mark and clearly being in a position of power. Here, Starlight gets to define equality, and often interprets dissent and free thinking as moral failing. This parallels real-life leaders within egalitarian movements, whereby the need for control often forms new elites. An obvious example would be the Russian Revolution back in 1917, when the Bolsheviks overthrew the Tsar and formed a new society based on Marxist ideology. However, to maintain control over the new Soviet Union, the Bolsheviks introduced secret police and dictated how people should live, thus creating a new class divide between those in positions of power and then everyone else. The need for someone to control a society based on absolute ideals and equality becomes an inherent flaw and paradox of that system, which is demonstrated perfectly with Starlight and her village. This system's contradictions are exposed as the main six arrive, as their talents conflict with the town's uniformity. Their friendship, despite their differences, causes the townspeople to question why cutie marks and unique talents are really dangerous. It is revealed in a later season that Starlight's aversion to the cutie mark is based on her experience with a friend as a filly, but that's for another time. They question why Starlight gets to keep her powers and cutie mark while they are denied. The act of forcing equality rather than letting the ponies decide for themselves exposes the underlying lie of Starlight's village. Her goal was never equality for all ponies, it was control. Starlight Glimmer and a Village serves as a symbolic critique of Marxist-inspired utopian projects, displaying the paradoxes and inconsistencies that plague its core ideas. This arc demonstrates how many ideologies fail when they oversimplify the human nature and promise utopia, using their ideals to justify authoritarian control. While Starlight's Village is fictional, its structure echoes historical movements with its centralized leadership, suppression of dissent, and its "we are all equal" rhetoric, masking the unequal distribution of power. While it is very easy to use this as a means to justify inequality, it is important to remember that this episode is not a critique on equality and kindness, as the main six represent equality and harmony through their friendship and connection, but as a critique on forced equality at the cost of individuality. The takeaway from this episode is that real equality and harmony does not come from uniformity, but from diversity, managed through empathy, negotiation, and shared responsibility, being the essence of true friendship.